Madeline Adams here with you now with Sean Fazende. You just heard from him. Now he joins us in studio to break down everything we learned from Saints minicamp. Sean, first of all, your overall assessment of minicamp. What'd you like? What'd you not like?
Well, there was a lot of things happening at minicamp, really the entire off-season program, and obviously all the buzz is about the Saints' new offensive system, Clint Kubiak's new offensive system, and how the players have gravitated to it, their eagerness to learn that new system, and how they've really sort of stepped up and embraced the new identity, the new language, the new system, and that's really been something to really watch. What I really liked was how much Carr connected with the new system, at least initially in the six practices we were able to see. I don't think it's a stretch to say he was the best player, the most consistent player all offseason for the Saints, which is obviously a good thing when you talk about a new offensive coordinator and his new starting quarterback. All good things, and hopefully that manifests itself into July and into August and September, but everyone understands it. Even Carr said the same thing. It's June, and everyone understands that. It's June, no pads. It is what it is. But you'd rather have that success than not have that success. What concerns me still, frankly, is I still have concerns about the line of scrimmage, both offensive line and defensive line. The current five up front along the Saints offensive line, I'm not convinced is going to be the starting five once the season begins. I think there's going to be some mixing and some matching. We saw, Fuaga, Saldiveri, Ruiz, McCoy at center, and obviously Trevor Penning at the right tackle position. That's 3 out of 5 that have basically no game experience, no significant game experience when you talk about the offensive line. So that is a concern. Defensively, who's the playmaker? Who is the playmaker? Who's the disruptor along the Saints defensive line? Impossible to see or get a gauge of that at minicamp with no pads on, and we'll see. They've got some question marks at defensive tackle. Who's going to emerge at defensive end? A lot of injuries happening around there as well. So we'll see, but right now my biggest concern heading into training camp is the line of scrimmage. Who ultimately ends up being the playmakers on both sides of the ball along the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, another concern is some of the injuries that popped up this past week. We'll talk about that in a second. But the big news on the final day of minicamp, Alvin Kamara making quite a statement by not showing up to the final practice. He obviously wants a new contract, but how do you think his stance has been really received by the front office?
I don't know. I can't imagine they liked what happened on Thursday when he showed up to walk through and did not go to the practice afterwards. Obviously, we found out later that it was contract related. So that incident, or that whatever you want to call it, I would imagine the Saints front office did not like that. It's generally not how it's gone, even with some higher profile players and contract disputes. It hasn't necessarily gotten that far. So we'll see ultimately how it ends up, excuse me, but just the actual day itself, showing up for the first 2 days and then not the third day, or almost going for the third day and then obviously backing out the last second, or whatever the case may be. I don't think the front office perceived it well, but if they want to work it out, they got to get over that. Yeah,
and one of our Saints analysts, Jeff Duncan, brought up a good point. This is not really a situation the Saints have had to deal with often, like you also mentioned, so it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with this. But considering Kamara's age, his production the last couple of years, we know his potential, what we saw from him earlier in his career, but his production the last couple of years has dipped. What is his true value right now?
That is the ultimate question, and if you're in Kamara's camp, the guy you've been compared to your entire career since you stepped foot on an NFL field, excuse me, is Christian McCaffrey. He just signed a 2-year, $38 million extension. They may view that as where they want to go. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. But deciding where that market value is for Alvin Kamara, who is a year older than Christian McCaffrey, and frankly, the last couple seasons has not had the same success as as Christian McCaffrey, is certainly something that will be factored into the market value. Plus, how much are the Saints willing to guarantee? Because remember, he's under contract this year and in 2025, although the 2025 year was always meant to be renegotiated. So by the time 2025 rolls around, he'll be 30 years old. So this is a delicate balance here, because how much are the Saints willing to guarantee for a running back that's going to be 30 years old in 2025? I think those things are still to be determined. I'll be very curious how this sort of plays itself out.
Yeah, and no doubt it was a down year for the entire running back room as a whole last year for the Saints, but make no doubt about it, he's still one of the best running backs in the league, in my opinion. But do the Saints kind of give him a new deal when he wants it, or do they kind of let this play out and let him play on the final deal?
That's a very interesting question. It's a very significant question, because he's under contract. Does he hold out when training camp rolls around if he wants a new deal? How close are they truly in terms of discussions with this contract extension? I don't know. he is under contract, but if he's willing to sit out a training camp, how far is he willing to go to sit out the season in regards to needing a new extension? I don't know. I don't think it gets that far. I think at some point they settle in. It's generally how this works. They find a value that's good for both sides, and they get to work. He has missed time before back in 2020 when he was negotiating that deal that he's currently under. He missed 4 or 5 practices, I believe, that season, but was able to get there, obviously, in plenty of time to get on the football field in 2020. Hopefully that's the case again, but until something is signed, until something is worked out, this is kind of where things stand.
So you mentioned Derek Carr earlier, how much more comfortable he looks, obviously, in a second mini camp here with the Saints. Should expectations still kind of be tempered? Obviously, like you mentioned, it is just a mini camp, no pads on yet, routes on air. What kind of should we make of Derek Carr's comfortability this season?
Well, I think even he tempered expectations. Right. Even he tempered excitement. Even he tempered what he has, quote unquote, accomplished in June, because it is June. There are no pads. They're probably 5, 10, 15% through their playbook and installation when it comes to the new offense. So, yes, he tempered expectations or excitement. We should obviously temper expectation and excitement. I'll use the word excitement because I think the expectation is obviously still there, but excitement at this point, because we all saw what happened last year. And if you're watching the show right now, you all understand. You get it. You get it. June is June. It matters when it gets to the fall. So I do think there is a level of let's take it for what it is. It is June. There is a little bit, he's caught on quickly. But like I said before, I'm not even sure this is the starting 5 offensive linemen he's going to be playing with right now that he's been practicing with. So there's a lot of things that get figured out before we can get into, how well he's going to play in the fall.
Yeah, and a lot of eyes have been on the offense simply because of the new offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak. How does his offense, how is that kind of a perfect fit for specifically how Carr plays the position?
Well, there's a lot of run, a lot of stretch boot, a lot of zone blocking, and you're able to set up a lot of play action off of that, which certainly plays to Derek Carr's strength. We saw it at the end of last season when they incorporated more play action. He was just a totally different quarterback. Felt like he had really hit his stride once the regular season ended. This whole offense is based off that wide zone stretch boot where you do that boot action off of that fake handoff. So certainly I think that's it. And for whatever reason, it just feels like for a quarterback in this system, the reads are so much more clearly defined based off pre-snap motion and pre-snap personnel groupings where you just know where to go with the football very quickly. And it feels like this is an offense where he's getting the ball out of his hands pretty quickly, and that obviously is a good thing for him because the longer you hold on to the ball, that can certainly be a problem. So play action, getting the ball out quickly and on time, and seeing what he needs to see, where his eyes are supposed to be. I think those are all good things in the Kubiak system.
Now, one of Derek Carr's go-to guys, tight end Juwan Johnson, will have to have foot surgery. He will be out a while, depleting an already thin tight end room. Sean, how concerning is that injury?
I think it is a concern because, like you said, it's a thin room. This offense relies heavily on the tight end. They do a lot of 2 tight end sets. They do a lot of they play with a lot of the tight end, H-back, fullback type, and you need multiple tight ends in this offense to dictate certain matchups that you want. So I think it's a concern. There's also there's a lot of vagueness around this injury right now, and no one really seems to know when it happened, how it happened, and how long the recovery is. So I think that's all certainly issues going forward. I can't see with the room right now and Juwan Johnson out how they don't add someone to this tight end room at some point, even if it's just a relatively unknown tight end or whatever the case may be, even if it's not a veteran, because I know the veteran class right now is a little thin. I just think they're going to have to add someone to this group just for reps once training camp rolls around.
Yeah, and obviously we'll get more answers about the entire team come training camp in late July in Irvine, California. Until then, Sean, thank you very much.
Thank you.